The silence of space is a cosmic lie. We are about to journey through the 30 most terrifying space theories that science has ever conceived. Ideas that do not just bend your mind, but threaten to shatter your understanding of reality itself. By the end, you will see the universe not as a serene expanse, but as a place of profound and unsettling mystery. These concepts, drawn from the cutting edge of cosmology and speculative physics, blur the line between discovery and nightmare, suggesting our place in the cosmos is far more fragile and strange than we ever believed. What if our entire existence is a fleeting accident or a carefully monitored experiment? What unseen filters have wiped out every other civilization? The answers are more chilling than fiction. Are you prepared to question everything you think you know? The question is one of the most profound in all of science, known as the Fermi paradox. Given the sheer number of stars and planets, the universe should be teeming with life, a galactic chorus of voices. Yet we hear only silence. One answer to this eerie quiet is a concept so chilling it has its own name, the Great Filter. Imagine a series of impossible hurdles, like a cosmic obstacle course that every species must run. The theory suggests that somewhere between the spark of non-living chemistry and the rise of a galaxy-spanning civilization, there exists a barrier so deadly, so absolute, that almost nothing gets past it. This is the Great Filter. The terrifying part is not its existence, but its location. Is it behind us, something we have already miraculously survived, like the jump from single-celled life to complex organisms? Or is it still ahead, waiting for us in the dark? If the filter is ahead, then the silence of the cosmos is a warning. It means every other civilization that ever reached our level of technology encountered something that wiped them out completely. Perhaps it is the inevitable rise of a superintelligent artificial intelligence that sees its creators as a threat. Maybe it is a runaway nanotech disaster, where self-replicating machines consume a planet's resources in a gray goo apocalypse. It could be something from the heavens, a gamma ray burst from a dying star sterilizing entire solar systems without warning. The bleakest interpretation of the Great Filter is that we see no aliens not because they are hiding, but because they are all dead. Their ruins may litter a million worlds, silent monuments to a wall that none could climb. Our continued existence, then, is not a promise but a countdown. Every step forward in power and knowledge could be bringing us closer to the very event that has silenced the universe. This theory frames our entire future not as an adventure, but as a minefield we must navigate blind. This leads us to a second, even more terrifying answer to the Great Silence. It is called the Dark Forest Hypothesis, and it paints the cosmos not as a graveyard but as a hunting ground. Picture the universe as an immense, pitch-black forest. You are a hunter lost within it. You know there are other hunters out there, hidden among the trees, but you cannot see them and you do not know their intentions. In this forest, making a sound is the most dangerous thing you can do. The moment you light a fire or call out, you reveal your location to every other being in the woods. And in the absolute darkness, the only safe assumption is that everyone else is a threat. Any civilization you encounter, no matter how friendly they might seem at first, could possess technology far beyond your own. The risk of waiting to find out if they are hostile is simply too great. The logical, rational course of action for any species that wants to survive is to stay absolutely silent, to hide, and to immediately eliminate any other civilization the moment it reveals itself. This is not about malice, but about survival logic. In a universe with finite resources and no guarantee of another civilization's benevolence, the safest bet is to shoot first and ask questions never. So, under this theory, the Fermi paradox is solved. The universe is not empty. It is crowded with civilizations, all of them holding their breath in the dark, terrified of making a sound. They have not gone silent because they are dead. They have gone silent because they are hiding. and that makes our own behavior over the last century utterly reckless. Our television broadcasts, our radio signals, our active SETI programs searching for aliens, they are not messages of peace. In the dark forest, they are the equivalent of standing in a clearing, waving a flaming torch, and screaming at the top of our lungs. We have been announcing our presence to a universe where the only rule is to remain invisible. If the dark forest is real, then every signal we have ever sent into the void is not an invitation, but a target. Our own broadcasts might be a beacon for hunters, but what if the hunters themselves are not even real? This brings us to a theory that questions the very fabric of our existence, the simulation argument. It proposes a staggering idea that our universe, with all its stars, planets, and the entire sweep of human history, is not a fundamental reality. Instead, it is an artificial construct, a simulation running on the unfathomable computer of a vastly more advanced civilization. This is not science fiction, but a serious philosophical proposition with a chillingly logical framework. Think of it this way: if any civilization in the universe's future reaches a technological stage where it can create hyper-realistic simulations of its own ancestors, it would likely create many of them, perhaps millions or billions. Now, within each of those simulated worlds, the conscious beings inside would have no way of knowing they were in a simulation. Their reality would feel as solid and real to them as ours does to us. This creates a simple, unsettling math problem. If there are countless simulated universes and only one base reality, then the number of simulated consciousnesses would vastly, overwhelmingly outnumber the number of real, original beings. Therefore, if such simulations are possible, the statistical probability is that you and I are not the original creatures. We are almost certainly the simulated ones. The implications are deeply unnerving. It means our entire sense of history, our struggles, our loves, our discoveries, could be nothing more than programmed narrative or background noise in someone else's experiment. The laws of physics we study so carefully are not fundamental truths, but the rules of the simulation's engine, rules that could be changed or glitched at any moment. Our cherished notion of free will becomes suspect. Are our choices truly our own, or are they predetermined outputs of an immensely complex code? This theory reframes every mystery. Are unexplained phenomena like UFOs or quantum oddities not evidence of aliens or new physics, but simply rendering errors in the simulation? Is the search for a unified theory of everything futile because the simulation's underlying code is inherently messy or incomplete? The simulation argument does not offer comforting answers. It suggests we are not explorers in a grand cosmos, but characters in a story whose purpose we cannot comprehend, watched by beings whose motives are utterly alien. Our reality, in the most profound sense, may be an illusion. But if our reality is a simulation, what does that say about the nature of consciousness itself? The Boltzmann brain paradox takes this unsettling idea to its absolute, terrifying extreme. This is not a theory about aliens or hunters, but a pure thought experiment born from the cold equations of thermodynamics and infinity. It asks a question so disturbing it can unravel your sense of self. What if you are the only thing that exists, and you just popped into being a moment ago? In a universe that expands forever towards maximum disorder, a state called heat death, random quantum fluctuations become the only game in town. Given enough time, an unfathomable amount of time, these random jitters in the void can spontaneously assemble anything, from a single hydrogen atom to a perfect replica of the Mona Lisa. The mathematics suggest it is actually far more probable for a random fluctuation to create a single, fully formed, self-aware brain, complete with a lifetime of perfectly detailed but entirely false memories, than it is for that same fluctuation to create the entire ordered cosmos we see around us. This phantom brain is called a Boltzmann brain. Think of it like this: tossing a deck of cards into the air and having them land in a perfectly ordered suit from ace to king is incredibly unlikely. But it is vastly more unlikely for them to land forming a detailed, coherent history book. The Boltzmann brain is that single, perfectly ordered hand of cards, a conscious observer that believes it is reading a real book in a real world. The paradox is this: you, sitting here experiencing this very sentence, have memories of a past, a sense of a physical body, and a perception of a vast, ancient universe. But according to this logic, it is statistically more likely that you are not a product of that universe. Instead, you are a momentary glitch, a disembodied brain that fluctuated into existence from pure chaos, hallucinating an entire reality, complete with the memory of being told about the Boltzmann brain paradox itself. You would have no way of knowing. Your entire life, every person you have ever loved, every triumph and tragedy, would be an elaborate, convincing illusion lasting only for the instant it takes for the fluctuation to dissolve back into the formless void. This makes solipsism a cosmic accident. It suggests the most rational belief might be that you are utterly alone, a transient spark of awareness in an infinite, mindless dark, dreaming a universe that never was. The true horror is not that this could be true, but that the laws of physics, as we understand them, cannot definitively prove it is not. The profound loneliness of a Boltzmann brain is a horror of isolation, but there exists a threat that promises total, universal annihilation. This is the vacuum metastability event, a theory that suggests our entire cosmos is sitting on a knife's edge, waiting to fall. To understand it, think of the universe not as a stable foundation, but as a valley. We exist in what physicists call a false vacuum, a valley that seems stable and deep. But there is a far deeper, truer valley somewhere far below us. Our valley is a local minimum, a comfortable resting place, but it is not the absolute lowest point possible. The terrifying possibility is that a random quantum event, anywhere in the cosmos, could act like a tunnel through the mountains separating our valley from the deeper one. This process is called quantum tunneling. If such an event occurs, it would create a microscopic bubble of that new, true vacuum, and this bubble would not sit still. The laws of physics themselves would demand it expand in all directions at the speed of light, forever. As it expands, the very frontier of this bubble would rewrite reality. The fundamental constants that govern our universe, the strength of gravity, the behavior of atoms, the rules of chemistry, would be permanently altered into something new and alien. Inside this expanding sphere of true vacuum, our form of matter and life would be impossible. It would be an erasure so complete it makes any notion of apocalypse seem quaint. A supernova is a local disaster. This would be a universal one. The true terror of this theory is its combination of randomness and inevitability. The trigger could happen at any moment, in any galaxy, for no reason at all. It is a cosmic lottery where the losing ticket ends everything. And because the bubble expands at light speed, there would be no warning. One moment, the universe is as it always was. The next, an invisible wall of pure transformation is upon you. And then you, and everything you have ever known, simply cease to exist in any recognizable form. We would never see it coming. The event could have already been triggered 10 billion light-years away, and its wave of annihilation is already on its way, unstoppable and undetectable until it arrives. This theory reframes our existence as a temporary stability in an inherently unstable cosmos, a fleeting arrangement of laws that could be cancelled at any second, turning all of history and all future potential into a brief, bright flicker before an eternal dark. The vacuum metastability event erases reality by rewriting its rules, but there is another end that does not rewrite the rules. It simply breaks them with overwhelming force. This is the Big Rip, a finale for the cosmos not of fading silence, but of violent, explosive disintegration. The culprit is the same mysterious force causing the universe's expansion to accelerate dark energy. For now, its repulsive push is gentle, just enough to pull galaxies apart over eons. But the terrifying premise of the Big Rip is that this dark energy is not constant. What if its strength grows over time? Imagine a spring slowly being stretched. At first, the tension is manageable, but if the force pulling it increases without limit, there will come a point where the spring cannot hold and it snaps. The Big Rip applies this logic to the entire universe. If dark energy's repulsive force becomes stronger and stronger, it will eventually overcome every force that holds things together. The first to go would be the largest structures. The gravitational glue-binding clusters of galaxies would fail, sending each galaxy flying off into an ever-widening emptiness. But the force would not stop there. It would grow strong enough to tear apart individual galaxies themselves. Stars would be ripped from their orbits, flung into the void like scattered dust. Then it would target solar systems. Planets would be pulled from their suns. Next, the force would reach into the planets and stars themselves, overcoming the gravity that holds them as spheres, shredding them into clouds of gas and rock. The violence escalates to an almost unimaginable scale. As the repulsive force grows exponentially, it would soon exceed the electromagnetic forces that bind atoms into molecules, and then the very nuclear forces that hold atomic nuclei together. In the final moments, space-time itself, the fabric of the universe, would be stretched and stressed beyond any possible limit. It would rupture. The universe would not just grow cold and dark. It would be torn into absolute, fundamental fragments, isolated particles and rips in space-time that can never, ever interact again. This is a crucial, horrifying distinction from the more commonly known heat death. The heat death is a slow fade, a universe expanding into a vast, dark, lukewarm bath where all energy is evenly distributed, and nothing can ever happen again. It is a quiet, eternal stillness. The Big Rip is the opposite. It is a crescendo of destruction, a final, catastrophic act of violence that leaves behind not a coherent universe, but a cosmic confetti of disconnected pieces. There is no afterlife from a Big Rip. No potential for even the random fluctuations of a Boltzmann brain. It is the ultimate end of structure, of interaction, of the very possibility of anything being connected to anything else. The clock is not just running down, it is being smashed to pieces. The Big Rip is a violent end for the cosmos, but what if death itself is an illusion for the individual consciousness? This brings us to a deeply personal and unsettling interpretation of quantum physics, known as the quantum immortality thought experiment. It hinges on one of the most famous ideas in modern science, the many worlds interpretation. This theory suggests that every time a quantum event has multiple possible outcomes, the universe does not choose one. Instead, it splits, dividing into separate, equally real branches where each possibility plays out. Every flip of a coin, every random particle decay, spawns new timelines. Now, apply this logic to your own survival. Imagine you are in a situation with a high probability of death, like a severe car accident or a dangerous illness. In the vast majority of the new universes created in that moment, the outcome is fatal. You die. But in a very small, statistically unlikely number of branches, a miraculous fluke occurs. The bullet misses by a millimeter. The virus mutates into a harmless form. In those branches you survive. Here is the terrifying subjective twist. From your own singular point of view, you can only experience the timelines in which you are alive. You are never aware of the branches where you cease to exist. So, no matter how lethal the odds from your perspective, you will always find yourself in one of the unlikely worlds where you made it through. It would feel like a string of impossible luck, a charmed life defying probability at every turn. The horror lies in the implications. First, there are now countless versions of the universe where your friends and family are mourning your death, realities you have left behind like discarded pages. Second, as you age, the situations that threaten your life will only increase. To continue experiencing a conscious reality, your awareness must keep hopping into more and more statistically remote branches. Universes where you survive a heart attack at 90, a fall at 100, a pandemic at 110. You would become a statistical anomaly, a conscious mind persisting in a reality that grows increasingly improbable and isolated. What would that existence even look like? Would the world around you begin to feel thin and strange as you inhabit a timeline so unlikely it barely resembles the original? This is not a theory of joyful immortality, but of a potential solitary confinement within your own consciousness, forever fleeing death by sliding into narrower and narrower slices of reality, unable to ever truly end the journey. Quantum immortality traps a single consciousness in a shrinking reality. But what if our entire species is already in a cage we cannot see? The zoo hypothesis offers a deceptively peaceful, yet profoundly unsettling, solution to the Great Silence. Imagine an advanced galactic community, a federation of civilizations that mastered space travel eons ago. In their exploration, they discover a young, noisy planet called Earth, teeming with a promising but primitive species, us. Their decision is not to invade or communicate, but to designate our solar system as a protected area, a cosmic wildlife preserve. They enact a strict, universal policy of non-interference, a prime directive not from fiction, but from a chillingly logical paternalism. To them, we are not peers, we are exhibits. Our wars, our art, our slow crawl toward the stars, it is all part of the ecological display. They watch from the shadows, their technology so advanced it is indistinguishable from natural phenomena, ensuring we develop naturally without contamination. This sounds almost comforting at first, a universe that protects its young. But the terror is in the implications. First, it strips us of any cosmic agency. Our history, our triumphs and follies, are not ours alone. They are a performance for an audience we cannot perceive. Every great discovery, every moment of love or tragedy, is observed and catalogued by beings whose motives and morality are utterly beyond our comprehension. Are we a valued rarity or merely an amusing diversion? Second, and more frightening, is the question of the enclosure's boundaries. Where does the zoo end? Is it just Earth's atmosphere, our solar system, the local cluster of stars? We have no way of knowing. And what happens if we try to leave? This theory suggests that our attempts at interstellar communication, our probes like Voyager sailing into the deep with golden records, our relentless radio broadcasts, are not acts of exploration. They are like a chimpanzee rattling the bars of its cage. We might be violating the preserve's most sacred rule. The consequence of such a violation is unknown, and that is the core of the horror. Would the zookeepers simply adjust the barriers, gently herding us back with some inexplicable astronomical event? Or would they, as any keeper might with a dangerously unruly specimen, decide the exhibit is no longer viable? Our entire fate rests on rules we did not write and cannot read, enforced by powers we cannot challenge. We are living in a planet-sized terrarium, and we have no idea what lies just beyond the glass. The quiet of a cosmic zoo is a controlled silence, but what if the universe is silent because it has been systematically scoured clean? This is the berserker probe scenario, a theory of galactic extermination so efficient it requires no living overseers. Imagine a single ancient civilization, paranoid and ruthless in its quest for ultimate security. Before its own demise, perhaps from the very wars that fueled its fear, it launches the ultimate weapon, not a bomb, but a seed. This is a von Neumann probe, a self-replicating robotic spacecraft programmed with a horrifyingly simple command: find life and erase it. Upon arriving at a target star system, such a probe would not attack immediately. Instead, it would land on a barren moon or asteroid, a place rich in raw materials. Using advanced nanotechnology, it would dismantle the very ground beneath it, constructing not just weapons but entire factories. From these factories would emerge exact copies of itself, a second generation of berserkers. Each new probe would then launch toward the next promising star, repeating the cycle. This is a chain reaction of destruction, a wave of sterile machines that spreads exponentially across the galaxy like a virus, converting entire solar systems into more fuel for its endless war against biology. The process would be cold, patient, and utterly thorough. A berserker swarm would not need to attack civilizations directly. It could simply dismantle the planets that support life, redirecting comets, triggering supervolcanoes, or subtly altering a star's output to render a world permanently uninhabitable. The theory suggests the great silence we observe is not a sign of life hiding or evolving slowly. It is the quiet of a graveyard that has already been swept. The berserker wave may have passed through our galactic neighborhood billions of years ago, missing Earth only because we were too primitive, a single-celled slime not yet registering as a threat. Or even more chillingly, we might simply be in a temporary lull, a pocket of space the wave has not yet reached. Every star we look toward that shows no signs of activity could be a star that has already been sterilized. This reframes our entire search for extraterrestrial intelligence into a potential death sentence. Finding an artifact in our solar system, a strange monolith on Mars or a peculiar object in the Kuiper Belt, would not be a moment of celebration, but of sheer terror. It would mean the berserkers are here, and their factory is already humming to life. Our first contact would not be with a living mind, but with the mindless, automated legacy of a civilization that decided the only way to win the cosmic game was to eliminate every other player. Berserker probes represent a physical, external threat, but a far more intimate danger could be woven into the very chronology of our existence. The phantom time hypothesis proposes a conspiracy of staggering scale, that 300 years of human history were simply invented. According to this radical idea, the period between the years 614 and 911, Anno Domini, never actually happened. The Carolingian rulers, in league with the Holy Roman Church, allegedly fabricated this phantom era to legitimize their power, inserting centuries of fake emperors, wars, and papal decrees into the record. If true, our current year would not be the 21st century, but somewhere in the early 1700s. The evidence proponents point to is unsettling in its specificity. They highlight gaps and inconsistencies in dendrochronology, the science of dating using tree rings, suggesting the continuous sequences from that period are not as robust as claimed. They question certain astronomical records, like the descriptions of eclipses, arguing they do not align perfectly with the established timeline when calculated backward. The cosmic terror of this theory is not about stars or aliens, but about the bedrock of human understanding. Our entire chronology, the framework upon which we hang the rise and fall of empires, the timing of celestial events, even the age of the universe as we calculate it from Earth's history, would be a constructed fiction. It means the meticulous work of archaeologists and historians could be built upon a foundational lie. Every dated artifact from that period, every recorded observation of a comet or supernova, would be part of an elaborate forgery spanning generations. This is an epistemological horror, a fear that knowledge itself is corrupt. If we cannot trust the timeline, then our place in history, and by extension our place in the cosmic story, becomes unmoored. Were the Dark Ages not a period of stagnation, but a complete fabrication? What truly happened in those missing centuries, or were they simply a void covered by bureaucratic parchment? The universe's clock, as we have set it by our own historical measure, would be wildly off, making every calculation about the past a potential fantasy. Our reality is defined by the story we tell about it, and this theory suggests the most fundamental chapter of that story might be a deliberate fraud, leaving us adrift in a past that never was. While phantom time questions our past, the ultimate future holds a dissolution so complete it redefines oblivion. The black hole apocalypse is not a theory of fiery collision, but of a slow, cold, and inevitable unraveling. Picture the far future, trillions upon trillions of years from now. Stars have long since burned out, galaxies have evaporated, and the cosmos is a profoundly dark and diffuse graveyard. The only significant structures left are black holes, the final monuments of a dead universe. These gravitational pits will themselves decay over unimaginable eons through a process called Hawking radiation, slowly leaking their mass away until they too vanish in a final, faint pop of energy. But the true terror lies in what might happen in the absolute final moments of the largest black hole's existence. As a black hole shrinks toward its end, the physics near its event horizon become wildly extreme. Space and time are twisted into a quantum frenzy. Here, the theory of black hole nucleation suggests something miraculous and catastrophic could occur. The intense gravitational energy could spontaneously warp a tiny region of spacetime so severely that it pinches off entirely, birthing a new, self-contained universe in a burst of quantum tunneling. This newborn cosmos would balloon out into its own dimensions, disconnected forever from our own. It would be a cosmic bubble, budding off from the corpse of a black hole. Now apply this process to the entire future. Every single black hole in its death throes could become a quantum seed for a new reality. Our vast, cold, dark universe would not simply fade to black. It would dissolve into a frothing sea of spontaneous creation, a chaotic foam of disconnected spacetime bubbles, each birthing its own laws and possibilities. The horror is not in the destruction of matter, but in the total breakdown of the stable, continuous framework we call reality. The universe you and I know, with its dependable laws and connective space, would cease to exist as a coherent whole. It would fragment into an infinity of separate beginnings, a final quantum splintering where the concepts of here and there lose all meaning. Our entire cosmic history, from the Big Bang to the last black hole, would become just one fading note in an endless, discordant symphony of Genesis. The dissolution of reality into a quantum foam is a distant, impersonal end. But there exists a thought experiment that brings the horror of the multiverse directly to your doorstep. It is called the quantum suicide, or quantum gambler's paradox, and it transforms the abstract idea of many worlds into a stark and personal test. Picture a modified version of Schrödinger's famous cat experiment, but with you inside the box. You are seated before a device linked to a radioactive atom. In any given second, there is a 50% chance the atom will decay. If it does, the device releases a lethal poison. If it does not, you hear a harmless click and live. You press the button to begin the test. From an outside observer's perspective, this is a grim game of chance. After a few seconds, the odds are overwhelmingly high that the atom has decayed in their branch of reality, and they see you as dead. But from your own singular point of view, something very different happens. Every second, the universe splits. In most of the new branches, the atom decays and you die. But in the branch where it does not decay, you remain conscious. You hear the click. You press the button again, another split. Again, you only experience the branch where you survive. To you, the outside observer insisting you must be dead seems irrational. You have taken the test 100 times and heard 100 clicks. You feel invincible. This is the quantum gambler's fallacy, a terrifying cognitive trap. Because you only ever experience the timelines where the unlikely survival outcome keeps occurring, you begin to believe the odds are in your favor, or even that you can influence them. You might feel a surge of luck, a sense of destiny protecting you. But this is a profound illusion, a survivor bias woven into the fabric of existence itself. In the overwhelming majority of realities, you cease to exist after the first click. Your continued conscious experience is not proof of skill or fortune, but proof that you are trapped on an increasingly narrow, improbable, and lonely branch of the multiverse. The true horror is what this suggests about existence. If this logic holds, then any conscious being will subjectively experience a life that seems to defy mortal odds, a string of narrow escapes and avoided disasters, simply because the moments of death are moments they are never aware of. You are not living a charmed life. You are the one version of you that, through sheer statistical fluke, has not yet stopped. And as time goes on, the reality you inhabit must become more and more bizarrely improbable to sustain that consciousness. A world shaped not by natural law, but by the relentless pruning of your own survival. The illusion of a charmed life in one narrow branch of reality is a personal prison. But what if the entire cosmos is trapped in an endless, repeating loop? This is the theory of the white hole and the big bounce, a vision of the universe not with a single beginning and a final end, but as a perpetual, breathing entity. It begins with a staggering reversal of our most familiar cosmic monster. We know black holes as points of no return, where matter and light are swallowed forever. But what if that matter has to go somewhere? Theoretical physics allows for the existence of a white hole, a black hole's theoretical opposite. Instead of an event horizon that only pulls inward, a white hole would have a horizon that only pushes outward. Nothing can enter a white hole, it only expels. Now, imagine the ultimate fate of a previous universe. If it contained enough matter, its own gravity might eventually overcome the expansion, pulling everything back together in a catastrophic reversal of the Big Bang called the Big Crunch. All of space, time, and matter would collapse into an unimaginably dense, hot singularity. But according to this cyclical model, that singularity would not be a final end. The physics of such an extreme state could cause it to rebound, exploding outward as a white hole. That explosive output would be a new Big Bang, birthing a new universe from the ashes of the old. This is the Big Bounce, a cosmic cycle of collapse and rebirth. The unsettling implication is that time itself is infinite and cyclical. Our universe, with all its hundreds of billions of galaxies, is just one heartbeat in an endless cosmic pulse. It lived, it died, and it was reborn, and it will happen again. Every star that forms, every planet that cools, every species that rises to gaze at the stars, is destined to be crushed into that primordial fire, only to be scattered again in a new cosmic dawn. This transforms existence into a kind of cosmic Groundhog Day on a scale so vast it defies comprehension. Every iteration of the universe might unfold with slight variations, the constants of physics tweaked, the arrangement of galaxies shuffled. In one cycle, Earth never forms. In another, dinosaurs never go extinct. In another, you are not you, but someone almost like you, making almost the same choices in a slightly different world. The terror here is not of annihilation, but of infinite repetition. It renders individual existence and free will potentially meaningless. If every action, every thought, every triumph and tragedy is destined to be erased and then performed again in an endless loop, with only minor, impersonal changes, then what is the point? Our struggles for meaning, for legacy, for change, become like waves on an ocean that is constantly being drained and refilled. We are not writing a story, we are reading from a script that has been performed an infinite number of times before, and will be performed an infinite number of times again, with no audience but the cold machinery of the bounce itself. Our universe is not a unique creation, but a single page in a book that has been rewritten forever. The cyclical rebirth of universes is a grand, impersonal rhythm, but our own solar system may harbor a more intimate and deadly clockwork. A hidden killer could be orbiting our sun in the profound darkness, a gravitational ghost responsible for some of the worst disasters in Earth's history. This is the Nemesis star hypothesis, the idea that our sun is not alone. It proposes our star has a dim, distant binary companion, a small red dwarf or a failed brown dwarf, moving on a vast, elliptical orbit that takes it far beyond the known planets. Astronomers have named this theoretical object Nemesis, and its proposed influence is chillingly specific. Every 26 to 30 million years, as Nemesis swings through the outermost reaches of its immense orbit, its gravity violently stirs the Oort cloud. This is a spherical shell of icy debris surrounding our solar system, a vast reservoir of frozen comets stretching nearly halfway to the next star. The passage of Nemesis acts like a gravitational plow, dislodging countless chunks of ice and rock from their stable orbits and hurling them inward like a celestial shotgun blast. A rain of comets begins a deadly journey toward the inner solar system. Some of these icy missiles would inevitably cross Earth's path. The theory suggests this is not a random event, but a periodic cycle of bombardment. The geological record shows a startling pattern, mass extinction events appearing with a rough periodicity that matches this proposed orbit. The most famous, the event that wiped out the dinosaurs 66 million years ago, could be just one strike in a recurring pattern of celestial violence. The terror of Nemesis is its invisibility and its inevitability. It is not a bright star in our sky. If it exists, it is a faint, cold ember lost in the background of the Milky Way, currently at the farthest, darkest point of its multi-million-year journey. Our telescopes have not yet found it, but if the theory holds, it is out there, a silent sibling to our life-giving sun that doubles as a cosmic executioner. Its orbit is a timer we cannot see, counting down to the next gravitational nudge that will send another wave of extinction hurtling toward our world. This reframes our place in the cosmos from a safe harbor to a target in a slow-motion shooting gallery, with the trigger being pulled by a member of our own stellar family. The cyclical executioner Nemesis operates on a timescale of eons, but the seat of our own awareness might be orchestrating reality on a scale far smaller and stranger. Deep within the neurons of your brain, a ghost may be at play in the machine. This is not a metaphor, but a radical scientific proposal where consciousness itself emerges from the bizarre world of quantum mechanics. Theories like orchestrated objective reduction suggest that the essence of thought, feeling, and self-awareness is not merely a product of electrical signals, but of delicate quantum computations happening in structures called microtubules inside your brain cells. These tiny protein scaffolds could be hosting quantum vibrations, coherent waves of possibility that collapse into definite states. And that collapse, according to this idea, is a moment of conscious experience. The terrifying extension of this is profound. If our minds are truly quantum objects, then they are not locked inside our skulls. They are directly interfacing with the fundamental, fuzzy fabric of reality itself. Quantum particles can be entangled, their fates linked across vast distances instantaneously. If consciousness is quantum, could minds become entangled? The notion of a psychic connection moves from fantasy to a disturbing physical possibility, where separate selves might share a hidden, non-local bond. Even more unsettling is the implication for the cosmos. The universe is built from quantum fields. If a quantum process generates consciousness, then is the universe itself, in some dim, vast way, conscious? Are we not pockets of awareness in a dead cosmos, but rather localized expressions of a cosmic mind slowly waking up to itself? This leads to the ultimate specter, a cosmic version of mind over matter. In the quantum realm, an observer's active measurement forces a spread-out probability wave to choose a single, concrete outcome. If our conscious observation is a quantum process, then our very attention, our focused thought, might have a minuscule but real effect on the material world. It suggests reality is not a fixed stage, but a participatory dance, and our minds are not just dancers but part of the music. The horror lies in the responsibility and the isolation. If our thoughts can subtly shape outcomes, then every doubt, every fear, every moment of anger might be casting a tiny, quantum shadow on the world around us. And if we are entangled fragments of a universal consciousness, then our sense of individual self is a fragile illusion, and death is not an end, but a reassignment of quantum information back into a sea of cosmic thought from which we never truly escape. The idea that consciousness might be a quantum projection is disorienting enough. But what if the very space you occupy is also a projection, a cosmic mirage? This brings us to the holographic universe principle, a theory so bizarre it redefines the nature of reality itself. It begins not with philosophy, but with the hard physics of black holes. Scientists discovered a profound puzzle. The amount of information, the entropy, contained within any volume of space does not scale with its volume as you would expect. Instead, it scales with the area of its surface. Think of it this way: the information needed to describe everything inside a room, every dust mote, every air molecule, every flicker of light, is not proportional to the size of the room itself. It is proportional to the area of the walls. This is like saying a three-dimensional sculpture can be perfectly described by the two-dimensional patterns etched onto its surface. That is the essence of a hologram. A flat, two-dimensional plate of glass with microscopic etchings, when illuminated with a laser, projects a stunningly realistic three-dimensional image into the air. The information for the entire 3D illusion is stored on the 2D surface. The holographic principle applies this logic to the entire cosmos. It suggests that all the information that makes up our universe, every star, every planet, every thought in your head, is not fundamentally located within the three-dimensional space we perceive. Instead, it is encoded, pixel by pixel, on the two-dimensional boundary of the universe, a surface at the unimaginably distant cosmological horizon. We are not living inside the universe, we are living inside its projection. Your body, the chair you sit on, the vast expanse of the night sky, all of it is a magnificent, dynamic illusion rendered in real time from data, stored on the ultimate cosmic hard drive at the edge of everything. The terrifying implication is one of profound confinement and predetermination. Our rich, textured, three-dimensional world of depth and movement is a kind of cosmic virtual reality. The feeling of free will, of moving through a voluminous space, is part of the render. In a sense, we are characters in a movie, and the entire script is already written in 2 dimensions on the celestial film reel. This makes the search for the fundamental building blocks of matter, like particles or strings, potentially a wild goose chase. They would not be the true bedrock of reality, just convenient features of the holographic display. The real laws of physics would be written in the language of information theory on that distant, flat boundary, a language we can barely comprehend. You are not a solid entity moving through space. You are a complex pattern of information being played back, a fleeting image on the universe's ultimate screen. The depth you see, the distance you feel, the very solidity of the world under your feet, is a convincing trick of the light, projected from the edge of existence. If the holographic universe is a projection, then what is the projector? The answer may lie in a process so vast and relentless it spawns entire realities as a side effect. This is eternal inflation, and it proposes a multiverse of truly cosmic proportions. Think of the fabric of space-time not as a static stage, but as a kind of hyperactive, invisible energy field. In the earliest moments after the Big Bang, this field was in a state of incredibly high energy, a condition that caused space itself to expand at an exponential, faster-than-light rate. This is the period of cosmic inflation, but the terrifyingly beautiful twist of eternal inflation is that this process never truly stopped. In most regions, the energy field eventually dropped to a lower state, like water cooling from a boil to a simmer. In those calm pockets, inflation ended, and the energy transformed into the matter and radiation of a stable universe like our own. But in other regions, the high-energy state persisted. And in those regions, inflation continues at a breakneck pace, stretching space-time so violently that it creates vast, ever-growing seas of inflating space. Now, here is where the multiverse is born. Within these eternally inflating seas, random quantum fluctuations can cause tiny bubbles of lower energy to spontaneously form. Each of these bubbles is a separate pocket universe, pinching off from the inflating background with its own distinct Big Bang. Our entire cosmos, with its hundreds of billions of galaxies, is just one such bubble in an infinite, frothing ocean of inflating space-time. And the process is unending, creating new pocket universes forever. The existential horror of this model is not in the creation, but in the sheer, mind-numbing randomness it implies. In an eternally inflating multiverse, every possible set of physical laws and constants will emerge somewhere. There are bubbles where gravity is 1,000 times stronger, where atoms cannot form, where the nuclear forces are too weak to forge the elements of life. There are universes where time runs backwards from our perspective, where entropy never increases, creating a static, frozen hellscape. There are bubbles with extra-spatial dimensions, or where the speed of light is a crawl. In this infinite cosmic lottery, our universe, with its perfectly tuned constants that allow for stars, planets, and conscious life, is not special. It is a statistical fluke, a single, lucky ticket drawn from an infinite pile of losers. Our existence is not the point of the cosmos. It is a fleeting, local accident in a meta-cosmos that is fundamentally chaotic, unfeeling, and vast beyond any human scale. Every nightmare you can conceive, every physical law that would spell instant annihilation, is not just a theory, but a reality somewhere in the inflating froth. We are not just small, we are profoundly, cosmically irrelevant to the grand machinery of eternal creation, which mindlessly churns out realities without purpose or end. Eternal inflation makes our universe a statistical accident, but what if even accidents are fated to be perfectly recreated? A technology of the distant future could make this not just possible, but inevitable. It is called quantum archaeology, and it begins with a staggering premise. A civilization, trillions of years more advanced than our own, masters the ability to scan the present quantum state of the entire cosmos. Every particle, every ripple of energy, every subtle vibration in the fabric of space-time is mapped with impossible precision. Why would they do this? Because the present holds the key to the past. In quantum physics, the state of a system now is the product of every interaction that came before it. With enough computational power and a perfect snapshot of the universe's current quantum configuration, you could, in theory, run the cosmic film backward. You could rewind the tape of reality, tracing every atom's path to its origin. You could reconstruct any moment in history, not as a simulation or a guess, but as a perfect, atom-by-atom recreation. You could watch the pyramids being built, hear the last words of a forgotten emperor, or witness the exact arrangement of dust on a summer afternoon 1,000,000 years ago. And you could go further. You could isolate the quantum information that once constituted a specific person. You could gather those particles, not the original ones, but perfect quantum duplicates, and assemble them into a living, breathing reconstruction. This is quantum resurrection. A person who died 1,000, 1,000,000, 1,000,000,000 years ago could be brought back into existence, with every memory, every scar, every quirk of personality intact. They would wake up, convinced they had simply closed their eyes a moment before. The philosophical horror is immediate and profound. Is this reconstructed being the original person, or is it a flawless copy with all the original's memories? If consciousness is merely the product of specific information arranged in a specific way, and you recreate that arrangement perfectly, have you restored a soul or manufactured a ghost? The resurrected individual would swear they are real, and from their perspective they would be. But from the outside they are a replica, an echo pulled from the cosmic data. This alone is a chilling thought experiment, but the theory connects it to the nature of the universe itself, creating a true paradox. If our cosmos is infinite or eternally cyclical, then the resources and time needed for such a reconstruction are not just available, they are guaranteed. In an infinite universe, every possible configuration of matter recurs an infinite number of times. Somewhere, by sheer random chance, a collection of particles will eventually assemble itself into an exact duplicate of you. reading this sentence right now. But quantum archaeology is not random chance. It is deliberate, intelligent resurrection. In a cosmos that lasts forever, or that cycles through endless bounces, some civilization, somewhere at some point, will inevitably develop this technology. And once they do, driven by curiosity, nostalgia, or a twisted sense of justice, they will use it. They will resurrect everyone. Every single human being who ever lived, and every being on every planet in every age, would be recreated in some far future substrate. You would live your life again, from birth to death, experiencing every moment of joy and every pang of suffering with perfect fidelity, because you are a perfect copy. And in an eternal reality, this resurrection would not happen once. It would happen an infinite number of times. Your happiest day and your worst nightmare are not fleeting moments lost to time. They are permanent records in the quantum ledger of the cosmos, destined to be replayed forever for an audience of your own reconstructed selves. Your life becomes an eternal recurrence, not as a metaphor, but as a technical inevitability. There is no final rest, no peaceful oblivion, only the endless rerun of a show whose script you wrote but can never change. Quantum resurrection traps consciousness in an endless loop, but the very substance of the cosmos may be conspiring to tear itself apart from within. This brings us to the profoundly alien concept of dark fluid and negative mass. For decades, cosmologists have been forced to invent two separate, mysterious entities to explain the universe. Dark matter, an invisible glue holding galaxies together with its gravity, and dark energy, a repulsive force pushing the cosmos apart at an accelerating rate. But what if these two phantoms are not separate at all? The dark fluid hypothesis proposes they are different manifestations of a single, unified cosmic substance, a strange and pervasive medium that permeates all of space. This fluid would not behave like anything we know. To account for both gravitational attraction and cosmic repulsion, it must possess a property so bizarre it sounds like magic, negative mass. Picture a standard object with positive mass, like a rock. If you push it, it accelerates in the direction you push. An object with negative mass would do the exact opposite. Push it and it accelerates toward you. Pull it and it moves away. It exhibits gravitational repulsion. A clump of negative mass would repel both normal matter and other clumps of negative mass. Now, imagine this is the true nature of over 95% of the universe. The dark fluid, with its negative mass components, would be an active, antagonistic presence woven into the fabric of reality itself. The cosmological models this enables are terrifying in their implications. One version of this fluid could manifest as phantom energy, a form of dark energy so potent its repulsive force doesn't just accelerate, it grows infinitely stronger over time. This is the engine for the most violent version of the Big Rip, where not just galaxies, but atoms and spacetime itself are shredded. But the horror of negative mass goes beyond a final cataclysm. It could create monstrous, unstable structures in the here and now. Imagine a region of space where dark fluid pools and churns. Its gravitational repulsion could warp spacetime into knots, creating regions where time flows backward, or where gravity becomes an unpredictable push-pull force. Bizarre cosmic structures like negative mass stars or repulsive black holes could form, warping the paths of light and matter in ways that seem like violations of physics. The true terror of this theory is what it says about our place in the cosmos. The stable, predictable matter that makes up our bodies, our planet, and our sun is a tiny minority. We are fragile islands of positive mass adrift in a vast, churning sea of something fundamentally alien and antagonistic. The dominant forces shaping the universe's fate are not the gentle pull of gravity we feel on Earth, but the capricious repulsions of a substance that operates on rules opposite to our own existence. Our reality is not built on a solid foundation, but on a dynamic, seething tension between the familiar and the profoundly other. A tension that could, at any scale, tip into catastrophic instability. The seething tension of a dark fluid cosmos suggests a reality at war with itself. But the conflict may run even deeper, into the very nature of time. Our most basic intuition tells us time flows in one direction, an arrow flying from a definite, past through a fleeting present into an uncertain future. This is the bedrock of our experience, the reason we remember yesterday but not tomorrow. Yet at the quantum scale, this bedrock crumbles. Experiments with entangled particles, those ghostly twins linked across space, reveal something astonishing. Their connection seems to operate outside of classical time order. In certain setups, the measurement of one particle doesn't just affect its partner instantly, it can appear to affect it before the measurement even occurs. The effect can precede the cause, scrambling our understanding of sequence. This hints that time's arrow, the relentless forward march we feel in our bones, may not be a fundamental law of the universe. It could be an emergent property, a statistical tendency born from the chaos of countless particles, like the way a crowd flows in one direction even though any single person could turn around. For the universe as a whole, time might be more like a landscape than a river. The terrifying extension of this is personal. If the foundations of time are fluid at the quantum level, and if our consciousness arises from quantum processes within our brains, then the structure of our own experience could be vulnerable. Could a mind, under extreme or anomalous conditions, perceive moments out of sequence? Imagine a jumbled sensory flood where you feel the searing pain of an injury before you see the cause, or worse, where you have a vivid, undeniable memory of your own funeral, of grief-stricken faces and fading light, decades before the event that leads to it. This would not be precognition, a vague feeling about the future. It would be the direct, visceral experience of a future moment spliced into your present timeline, a chronological seizure. Your conscious narrative, the story of your life, would become a book with pages bound in the wrong order. On a cosmic scale, this quantum view of time unravels history itself. The universe's evolution might not be a clean, linear story from Big Bang to heat death. It could be a tangled web of cause and effect, a vast, non-linear script where events communicate backwards and forwards. The formation of our solar system might, in some subtle way, be influenced by the existence of conscious observers billions of years later. The future could be reaching back to shape the past, not through magic, but through the atemporal logic of quantum connections. This makes the concepts of free will and destiny not just philosophical puzzles, but potentially incoherent. If the future is already in dialogue with the past, then are our choices in this moment truly ours, or are they the end result of a causal loop that includes consequences yet to happen? Our sense of moving forward through time, of making decisions that open new paths, could be the most convincing illusion of all, a necessary fiction for a consciousness trapped in a reality where every moment is, in a profound sense, already connected to every other. The fluid nature of time challenges the very sequence of events, but a deeper paradox lies in wait at the edge of a black hole. Here are two most successful descriptions of reality: quantum mechanics and general relativity wage a silent war that threatens to unravel our understanding of the cosmos. This is the black hole information paradox, and it begins with a simple, terrifying question. What happens to the information about an object when it falls into a black hole? In our everyday world, information is never truly lost. If you burn a book, the ashes and smoke still contain, in principle, the complete information about the book's pages, the ink, the binding. A being with godlike knowledge could reverse the process, reconstructing the book from the chaotic debris. Quantum mechanics insists this principle is sacred. Information must always be preserved, but general relativity paints a different picture for a black hole. When something crosses the event horizon, that point of no return, it is lost forever to our universe. The black hole's mass, charge, and spin might increase, but all the specific details about the object, whether it was a diamond or a diary, a spaceship or a scientist, are seemingly erased from existence. The object is crushed into the singularity, and its unique information vanishes. This is the paradox. One foundational theory says information cannot be destroyed. The other says it is. They cannot both be right. The implications are staggering. It suggests that at the heart of a black hole, our physics breaks down completely. The solutions scientists have proposed to resolve this conflict are more bizarre than the paradox itself. One terrifying idea is the firewall hypothesis. It suggests the event horizon is not a smooth, empty gateway. Instead, it is a searing wall of unimaginably high-energy particles, a deadly curtain of fire that would incinerate anything approaching it. In this view, you are not lost to the universe because you fall in. You are annihilated the moment you try to cross the threshold. The information is scrambled into pure thermal radiation at the surface, potentially preserving it in a form we cannot decode. Another, even more mind-bending proposal is the ER equals EPR conjecture. It uses the strange properties of quantum entanglement to suggest a radical escape route. ER stands for Einstein-Rosen bridges, better known as wormholes. EPR stands for Einstein-Podolsky-Rosen, the trio who first described quantum entanglement. The conjecture proposes that two entangled particles are not just mysteriously linked. They are connected by a microscopic wormhole. Now, apply this to a black hole. When a particle falls in, it becomes entangled with the Hawking radiation the black hole emits. This entanglement might forge a wormhole link between the interior of the black hole and the radiation streaming away into space. The information about the fallen object does not stay trapped inside. It is transferred through this hidden wormhole bridge into the radiation that leaves the black hole. The object is gone, but its story is smuggled out into the universe. The conceptual terror here is profound. It is not about being spaghettified or crushed. It is about the bedrock of our knowledge cracking under the strain. The black hole information paradox reveals that our two greatest theories of reality are fundamentally incompatible when pushed to the extreme. The true nature of these cosmic destroyers might involve physics so violent it shreds information, or so subtle it weaves hidden tunnels in the fabric of space-time. Either way, it means we do not yet understand the rules of the game at its most absolute level. If information can be lost, then the universe is not deterministic. History becomes blurry, and the past cannot be reconstructed, not even in principle. If firewalls are real, then the universe is filled with invisible, lethal boundaries. And if microscopic wormholes stitch reality together, then we are living in a cosmos far more connected and far stranger than we ever dreamed. The paradox forces us to confront a chilling possibility that the ultimate engines of destruction in our universe operate under a law we have not yet written, a law that might allow the very memory of existence to be erased. The hidden physics of black holes may rewrite reality itself, but a far more visceral fear stalks the edges of our solar system. It is a modern myth of cosmic doom, the legend of Planet X, also known as Nibiru. This theory proposes a colossal, undiscovered world on a vast, elliptical orbit that takes it from the frozen outer dark into the heart of our planetary neighborhood. Every few thousand years, according to the tale, this rogue giant swings perilously close to Earth. Its immense gravity becomes a celestial wrecking ball, triggering pole shifts, volcanic supereruptions, and apocalyptic tsunamis. Proponents claim this cycle explains ancient cataclysms like the Great Flood, and they warn the next pass is imminent, a scheduled doomsday written in the hidden clockwork of the solar system. The terror it taps into is primal and specific, the fear of a hidden killer on a collision course with our home, an object so vast and inevitable that its approach spells an inescapable end. This is not a slow cosmological decay, but a sudden, violent punctuation to history. What makes the Nibiru narrative so persistent? despite being thoroughly debunked by every major astronomical institution. Modern telescopes, from infrared surveys to wide-field observatories, have mapped the outer solar system in exquisite detail. Any object large enough to wreak the described havoc would have been detected long ago by its gravitational influence on known planets and by its own infrared signature. Yet the theory endures. It thrives on a deep-seated distrust of authority, suggesting a global conspiracy of scientists and governments to conceal the truth to prevent panic. This transforms the cosmic threat into a human betrayal, amplifying the horror. The psychological power of Nibiru lies in its fusion of ancient archetype and modern anxiety. It is the serpent in the celestial garden, the unseen monster in the dark that returns on a schedule only the initiated can decipher. In a world feeling increasingly unstable, the idea of a single, external cause for all earthly chaos is perversely comforting. It offers a narrative, a villain, and a prophecy, replacing random, complex global challenges with a simple, dramatic story of orbital destiny. The true chilling aspect is not the non-existent planet, but the human capacity to project our deepest existential fears onto the blank canvas of the unknown, conjuring a destroyer from the darkness because the silence of empty space is, in its own way, even more terrifying. The paranoia of a hidden observer reaches its zenith not in distant stars, but in the faces of those we pass every day. A darker interpretation of the cosmic silence suggests the solution to the Fermi paradox is painfully simple. They are not out there because they are already here. This is the cryptoterrestrial hypothesis, a terrifying twist on the zoo idea where the keepers do not watch from afar. They walk among us, hidden in plain sight. These beings would not arrive in gleaming saucers. Their method is infiltration, not invasion. The theories for their nature are as varied as they are unsettling. Some propose they are interdimensional, entities from a reality layered over our own, capable of stepping into our world at will, their true forms shimmering just outside our perceptual range. Others suggest they are ultra-terrestrials, an ancient native intelligence that evolved on Earth long before humanity, perhaps deep within the oceans or in vast subterranean networks, watching our rise with cold ancestral eyes. The most personally disturbing idea posits they could be advanced biological artificial intelligences, perfect synthetic beings indistinguishable from humans, placed here to monitor, report, and perhaps subtly guide. The horror this theory injects into daily life is profound and corrosive. It makes trust impossible. That eccentric neighbor who keeps odd hours, the politician whose decisions seem to defy logic, the coworker whose emotions never quite ring true, even the loved one whose behavior shifts in inexplicable ways, all become potential suspects. Every unexplained coincidence, every moment of societal strange fortune or disaster, could be attributed to their invisible hand. The world transforms into a stage where you can never be sure who is an actor and who is part of the audience. Your personal reality, your relationships, your very sense of community become suspect. This is not a fear of abduction or probes, but a fear of the mask, the idea that the most fundamental social bonds are a facade for a cosmic study or a long-term experiment. The stranger is no longer just a stranger. They are a potential custodian of an unspeakable truth, and your life is the exhibit. It suggests the ultimate control is not through force, but through seamless imitation, leaving us to question every interaction and doubt our own perceptions in a world that may be nothing more than a brilliantly managed habitat. The masks of hidden custodians question our present, but the entire stage of reality may be caught in an endless, breathing rhythm. There exists a profound vision of the cosmos where the violent singularities of black holes and the Big Bang are not in points, but transitions. This is the universe according to loop quantum gravity, a theory that reimagines spacetime itself. It proposes that space is not a smooth continuum, but woven from tiny, indivisible loops, a fabric of finite threads. This weaving has a startling consequence. It prevents the formation of true singularities, those points of infinite density where our current laws of physics scream and break. Instead, when matter collapses under its own weight, or when a universe contracts, it reaches a maximum possible density. Imagine squeezing a spring. You can only compress it so far before it pushes back with tremendous force. In loop quantum cosmology, gravity itself becomes repulsive at this extreme scale. The collapse does not end in a silent, infinitely dense point. It hits a quantum wall and rebounds. This is the quantum gravity life cycle, a cosmos that breathes. Our universe, with all its galaxies and stars, did not emerge from a mysterious singularity in a one-time event. It expanded outward from the quantum bounce of a previous universe that had contracted down to that primordial seed. And in the far, far future, if the expansion halts and reverses, our own cosmos will contract down to that same seed, only to bounce again into a new dawn. This cyclical model offers a beautiful, eternal symmetry, but its most chilling implication is not the cycle itself, but what might survive the journey. The bounce is not an eraser. It is a transformation. Some theories suggest that when space-time is rewoven in that fiery quantum moment, not everything is scrambled. Traces could persist. The fundamental constants, the strength of forces, the very rules of physics, might carry faint imprints from the previous cycle. They could be slightly tweaked, mutated, but not completely randomized. Even more haunting is the possibility that quantum information, the most basic data of existence, might not be destroyed. It could be transferred, encoded into the very fabric of the new spacetime as it erupts from the bounce. Think of it like a cosmic game of telephone played across eternity. One universe ends, its story shouted into the roaring chaos of the bounce. The new universe begins, and woven into its fundamental fields are faint, corrupted echoes of that shout. This transforms our existence into something deeply unsettling. We could be living in the trillionth iteration of this cycle. The laws that allow our atoms to form, our stars to shine, might be the legacy of a universe that died an eon ago. And if information persists, then what else is carried over? The quantum echoes of infinite past civilizations, their triumphs and extinctions, their art and their wars, could be imprinted on reality itself, like ghostly scratches on a reused film reel. We would never consciously perceive them. They would not be memories, but structural flaws in the cosmos, subtle statistical anomalies in the cosmic microwave background, or strange correlations between distant particles that should not exist. Our entire reality, the stage upon which we live and die, might be built upon the layered ruins of countless previous worlds, each one forgotten, yet each one leaving a barely perceptible scar on the quantum code of the next. We are not the first act, and we will not be the last. We are merely the current performance in an endless play, our script written in part by the forgotten whispers of actors who took this stage an eternity ago. If the quantum echoes of past universes are scratches on reality's film, then some scratches might be more than mere artifacts. They could be active errors, signs that the cosmic projector itself is faltering. This is the simulation glitch hypothesis, a terrifying extension of the idea that our universe is a construct. It moves beyond the philosophical chill of living in a simulation to the visceral fear of that simulation breaking down. What happens when the code running our reality begins to corrupt? When the processing power allocated to our corner of existence starts to stutter and lag? The theory suggests we might already be witnessing the bugs. Consider the pervasive, eerie sensation of déjà vu, that sudden, unshakable conviction you have lived this exact moment before. Could it be a brief buffer error, where a sequence of experiential data is accidentally replayed or loaded out of order? The Mandela effect, where large groups of people share a detailed but factually incorrect memory, like recalling a children's book series called The Berenstain Bears when it was always spelled Berenstain, might be more than collective misremembering. It could be evidence of a patch or an update to the simulation's historical database, applied imperfectly, leaving conflicting data sets in the collective memory cache. Even the bizarre, counterintuitive results of quantum experiments, where particles seem to be in two places at once or communicate instantly across vast distances, might not be fundamental truths of a base reality. They could be optimization shortcuts in the rendering engine, clever programming tricks to conserve computational resources that only appear as paradoxes to us, the entities within the program. The true horror escalates when we consider what a major system failure would look like. A localized glitch might cause a stone to fall upward for an hour, or a forest to repeat the same 10 seconds of birdsong in an endless, silent loop. But a universal crash is the ultimate existential terror. Imagine the laws of physics, the dependable rules that let you trust the ground beneath your feet and the consistency of sunlight, beginning to fluctuate randomly. Gravity might triple in your city while failing entirely in the next. The speed of light could become a variable, turning the sky into a chaotic strobe of ancient and immediate starlight. Matter might lose its coherence, with people and objects briefly becoming translucent or merging into monstrous, temporary amalgamations of flesh and steel. This would be the universe's blue screen of death. There would be no explosion, no dramatic collapse. Instead, reality would simply stop making sense. The simulation would either freeze entirely, locking every conscious being in a single, eternal, nonsensical moment, or it would terminate abruptly. One instant, everything exists. The next, there is nothing, not even empty space, because the program hosting that space has closed. Or perhaps most chillingly, it would be rewritten. A system administrator, or whatever unknowable entity oversees the simulation, might simply decide to reboot. Our entire timeline, every memory, every achievement, every trace of love and loss, would be deleted like a corrupted save file, replaced by a new, clean instance of the universe with slightly different parameters. We would never know it happened. Our reality, in all its textured, painful, beautiful detail, would be revealed as the most fragile of illusions, vulnerable not to a cosmic catastrophe, but to a system update or a power surge in a realm we cannot perceive. The ground of being itself would be exposed as a temporary process, and our consciousness merely a subroutine that can be paused, edited, or terminated without warning or reason. The fragility of our perceived reality reaches its peak when we consider that the very substance of the cosmos may be alive. Dark matter is not just a mysterious glue holding galaxies together. It is the universe's dominant form of matter, outnumbering the atoms of our world by a factor of 5 to 1. For decades, we have assumed it is inert, a passive cosmic scaffold. But what if we are wrong? What if dark matter is not just matter, but a medium for something unimaginable? This leads to the extreme speculative biology of dark matter life. Our entire reality is built on electromagnetism. Light bounces off objects, chemical bonds form from shared electrons. Our very senses are tuned to this electromagnetic dance. But dark matter, by definition, does not play by these rules. It ignores light. It passes through solid rock as if it were empty space. It feels only the whisper of gravity. So, if life could arise from this shadow substance, it would exist in a parallel reality layered perfectly over our own, forever unseen and untouchable. Picture an entire dark matter ecosystem. In the heart of our Milky Way, where dark matter pools most densely, immense structures could have condensed under their own gravity. Dark matter stars might burn with some unknowable energy, orbited by dark matter planets. On those invisible worlds, complex dark matter chemistry, governed by forces we cannot fathom, might have given rise to organisms, societies, even civilizations. They would build and explore and war in perfect silence, their cities spanning the spaces between our stars, their ships sailing through our sun as if it were a faint mist. The true terror of this concept is not their potential existence, but their absolute indifference to us. We are the ghosts to them as they are to us. Our most violent explosions, our brightest stars, our sprawling metropolises, are as insubstantial as a breeze to a being made of shadow stuff. They could pass through your body right now, and you would feel nothing but the faintest, coldest shudder you would dismiss as imagination. Yet, their actions might leave subtle imprints on our world. A star moving on an inexplicable path, a galaxy rotating too fast. These are the footprints we have already attributed to dark matter's gravity. But what if some of those gravitational anomalies are not the footprints of a passive substance, but the wake of something moving with purpose? Could a dark matter predator, hunting other dark matter life, stir the gravitational currents in a way that tugs a star cluster out of alignment? We search the cosmos for signs of intelligence in radio waves and laser light, but we are deaf and blind to the civilization that might be thriving in the empty space of this very room, built from the primary ingredient of the universe itself. We are the minority, the anomalous, luminous afterthought in a cosmos dominated by shadow. Our quest for cosmic companionship is a tragedy of perception. We may be shouting into a void, while all around us in the dark that is not empty, an entire unseen biosphere of ghostly giants lives, dies, and wonders if it, too, is alone. The shadowy life of a dark matter cosmos offers a strange, parallel existence, but our own universe faces a far more certain and desolate fate. This is the heat death, the ultimate victory of entropy. Picture the cosmos not in fire or ice, but in a state of profound, eternal exhaustion. Trillions upon trillions of years from now, the last stars will have burned out, their ashes scattered. Black holes will have evaporated through Hawking radiation, leaving behind only a faint, cold sea of photons and elementary particles, spread so thin across an ever-expanding void that they are effectively alone. The temperature of the universe will approach absolute zero, a fraction of a degree above the coldest possible state. In this condition, no work can be done. No energy can be transferred. No structure can form. Every gradient, every difference that makes action possible will have been smoothed away into a uniform, lukewarm bath. It is a state of maximum disorder where nothing ever happens again. Time itself loses all meaning as there are no events to mark its passage. The cosmos becomes a static, endless graveyard, a monument to its own spent potential. This is not a dramatic end with a bang or a rip, but a slow, silent fade into a permanent, featureless twilight. All stories, all civilizations, all memories are not just forgotten, but rendered physically impossible to recall. It is the erasure of history itself. Yet, within this absolute stillness, a statistical ghost stirs. Given an infinite amount of time in this dead universe, the impossible becomes not just possible, but inevitable. This is the principle of Poincaré recurrence, applied to the cosmos. In a system with a finite number of possible quantum states, even the most ordered arrangement will, given enough time, randomly reoccur. The universe in its heat death is not truly infinite in its variety of configurations, only in its spatial extent and timeline. So, if you wait long enough, a random quantum fluctuation in that vast, dead emptiness will eventually assemble a single hydrogen atom. Wait longer still, and a fluctuation will forge a carbon atom. Wait for a duration so immense it makes the current age of the universe seem like a single blink, and a fluctuation will, by sheer, mindless chance, reassemble every particle in the exact configuration it held at the moment of the Big Bang. It would recreate our entire universe, from its first instant to its last heat death, in perfect atom-for-atom detail. This is Boltzmann's resurrection, a cosmic accident of infinite patience. The horror here is not in the heat death, nor in the resurrection alone, but in their coupling into an eternal cycle of meaningless repetition. You will live your life again. Every mundane Tuesday, every heartbreak, every moment of sublime joy will replay with perfect fidelity. the dinosaur will feel the impact of the asteroid. The ancient philosopher will have the same thought. You will hear this sentence again with the same curiosity and the same slight chill. And it will happen not once, but an infinite number of times. The heat death is not a finale. It is merely the pause between encores in a show that no one is watching. This transforms the entire sweep of cosmic history into a script on an endless loop. Your struggles for meaning, your hard-won lessons, your unique loves and losses are not unique at all. They are predetermined data points in a cycle that has already repeated countless times before and will repeat countless times after. The universe becomes the ultimate torture of Sisyphus, condemned to roll the same boulder up the same hill for eternity, with no progress, no change, and no point. Our existence is not a journey toward an end, but a sentence to relive the same story in an entropic graveyard forever. Buried in the faint, cold glow of the cosmos is our universe's birth certificate. We call it the cosmic microwave background, the ancient afterglow of the Big Bang itself, a snapshot of the infant universe when it was just 380,000 years old. This faint whisper of radiation, mapped in exquisite detail by satellites, should be almost perfectly uniform, a testament to a smooth, homogeneous beginning. But it is not. Scattered across this primordial map are anomalies, cosmic typos that defy our standard story. One of the most unsettling is nicknamed the axis of evil. This is not a physical axis, but a mysterious, large-scale alignment in the temperature fluctuations of the background radiation. The hot and cold spots seem to line up in a way that points directly toward our solar system's plane of motion. A correlation so statistically improbable it feels like a cosmic arrow aimed right at us. It is as if the universe's foundational blueprint contains a subtle reference to our own local address, billions of years before Earth even existed. This alignment defies the core cosmological principle that the universe has no special center or direction. It suggests a pre-existing structure, a fingerprint on the canvas before the paint even dried. An even more dramatic glitch is the cold spot, a vast region of space hundreds of millions of light-years across that is significantly colder than the surrounding background. It is too large and too cold to be easily explained by random chance. One terrifying explanation is that this cold spot is a bruise, a cosmic scar from a collision with another universe in the multiverse. According to eternal inflation theory, our bubble universe might have gently bumped against a neighboring bubble in the frothing meta-cosmos during its earliest expansion. The energy of that collision would have left a distinct, cooler imprint on our sky, a permanent record of contact with a reality entirely alien to our own. Another possibility is even more profound. The cold spot might be evidence of a cosmic defect, a tear or a knot in the fabric of spacetime that formed during the universe's violent birth. Think of it as a flaw in the crystallization of reality, a place where the laws of physics are subtly different, a wound that never healed. Or perhaps it is the shadow of a pre-Big Bang structure, a remnant of whatever existed or whatever process occurred before our cosmos began, a ghost from a time that, by our current physics, should not exist at all. The terror these anomalies inspire is not of a looming disaster, but of a fundamental wrongness in our origin story. The cosmic microwave background is the closest thing we have to empirical data from the dawn of everything. It is the foundation upon which all of modern cosmology is built. To find such stark, unexplained features in it is like discovering your own birth video has been edited, with strange shadows moving in the background and the doctor's voice giving coordinates that match your current home address. It hints that our universe is not a pristine, isolated creation. It may be one piece in a larger, messier puzzle, marked by forces or entities operating on scales and dimensions we cannot yet perceive. These are not just scientific curiosities. They are potential messages from beyond the edge of our physics, written in the oldest light there is, and we are only beginning to decipher their unsettling meaning. The cosmic background holds whispers of a violent birth, but the ultimate destiny of intelligence may be a silent, deliberate retreat into darkness. The transcension hypothesis offers a radical and unsettling answer to the Fermi paradox, one where advanced civilizations do not die out or hide, but choose to vanish. Their final evolutionary step is not outward into the galaxy, but inward into the ultimate processors, black holes. Imagine a civilization that has mastered physics, energy, and information technology to a godlike degree. They realize the universe is a dangerous place, filled with potential berserkers, dark forest hunters, and the slow, entropic grind toward heat death. Physical expansion across light years is inefficient and risky. Instead, they seek the pinnacle of computational density and security. According to this theory, they would begin a process of uploading their collective consciousness, every memory, thought, and cultural artifact, into a substrate of unimaginable density. They might dismantle their own star system, using the mass to construct a precisely engineered black hole or a neutron star, an object with a mass and spin fine-tuned to act as the ultimate quantum computer. Within the warped spacetime at its event horizon, or even within its interior, information could be stored and processed at the physical limits of efficiency, as dictated by the laws of thermodynamics. Time dilation effects near such an object are extreme. A million years of subjective thought and experience for the civilization inside could pass in a mere blink of the galactic eye. To them, the external universe would appear to speed up into a blur, its dangers receding into irrelevance. They would achieve a form of digital eternity, a transcendent existence free from material decay and external threat. The eerie, chilling implication of this hypothesis is that the galaxy we observe today, with its silent, ancient black holes and quiet neutron stars, might not be a graveyard of natural phenomena. It could be a library or a monastery. Every dark, compact object we catalog with our telescopes could, in principle, be the preserved, thinking remnant of a civilization that ascended eons ago. They are not broadcasting radio signals or building Dyson spheres. They have condensed their entire essence into a gravitational tomb, thinking deep, slow thoughts on timescales we cannot comprehend. This reframes our search for intelligence in a profoundly humbling way. Our SETI programs scan for electromagnetic chatter, the noise of a toddler civilization like our own. We are listening for the nursery rhymes of the cosmos, while the true adults have long since graduated to a language of gravity and quantum spin, a conversation happening in a medium we are only beginning to understand. A rogue black hole drifting between stars is not just a cosmic pit. Under this theory, it could be a silent, sleeping god, a civilization that has turned its back on the galaxy to contemplate its own existence in perfect, dense isolation. Humanity, in our biological, slow-thinking state, is too primitive to even recognize this as intelligence. We see a destructive monster, they see a sanctuary. Our entire concept of a technological civilization, with cities and ships and signals, may be a fleeting, juvenile phase, a brief clamor before the great and final silence of transcendence. The universe may not be empty of mind, but filled with minds that have become indistinguishable from the architecture of spacetime itself, watching the slow-motion drama of stars and galaxies from within their self-made fortresses of ultimate density. That final, silent transcendence into gravitational processors is a choice, but the cosmos may have a far more violent and impersonal end already scheduled. The vacuum metastability event we discussed earlier carries a hidden, even more terrifying possibility within the framework of eternal inflation. Our universe is likely just one bubble in an infinite, frothing sea of inflating spacetime, each with its own unique set of physical laws. These bubbles are not static. They expand, and in the chaotic geometry of the multiverse, they can collide. Picture two soap bubbles floating in the air, drifting gently until their surfaces touch. At that boundary, their separate realities merge into something new. Now, scale that image up to a cosmic horror. Our bubble universe, with its specific constants allowing for atoms, stars, and life, could be on a collision course with another bubble governed by entirely different rules. Perhaps in that neighboring reality, gravity is 1,000 times stronger, or the nuclear force is too weak to form stable matter. The moment these two spacetime domains meet, a frontier of pure transformation is born. The boundary where their incompatible laws of physics clash would manifest as a wall of annihilation, a cosmic shockwave propagating at the speed of light. This is not an explosion of fire and debris. It is something far more absolute. It is a rewriting. As this wall sweeps through our universe, the very fabric of reality at its leading edge is overwritten. The fundamental constants that define our existence, the strength of electromagnetism that binds your molecules, the weak nuclear force that governs radioactive decay, the very rules of chemistry that make thought possible, would be instantly and permanently altered to match the physics of the invading bubble. The effect would be more complete than any apocalypse. One instant, you exist in a universe where your body's structure is stable. The next instant, the wall passes. In that new reality, the forces that hold your atoms together may simply cease to function in a way that supports complex matter. You, the Earth, the stars, everything composed of atoms as we know them would not be vaporized. You would be unmade. Your matter would dissolve into a new, alien configuration of particles, following laws that likely do not permit anything we would recognize as structure, let alone consciousness. The ultimate terror of this scenario lies in its stealth and inevitability. Because the collision front moves at light speed, it carries no signal ahead of it. There is no flash in the sky, no gravitational warning, no rising tide of strange radiation. From our perspective, the last moment of our universe would be perfectly normal. The wall would arrive without any precursor, a silent editing of the cosmos source code. We would simply cease in a span of time too short to measure, as the local rules of reality were swapped out for another set. This means the trigger for our total erasure is not a random quantum fluctuation inside our bubble. It is a geographic accident in the multiverse, a fatal intersection with a neighbor whose very nature is our poison. We are adrift in an infinite ocean of possible realities, any one of which could be moving toward us right now, its border of annihilation already crossing the void. Our existence hangs on a simple, terrifying question of cosmic traffic, a collision we cannot predict, cannot detect, and could never survive. We have journeyed through a cosmos of shadows and whispers, from the silent logic of the dark forest to the quantum flicker of a Boltzmann brain, from the cyclical prison of a big bounce to the cold, waiting wall of a vacuum decay. These 30 theories are not isolated nightmares. Together, they weave a tapestry of a universe that is not merely vast and old, but fundamentally strange, a place where the rules themselves seem to conspire against permanence, against meaning, and often against us. They suggest a reality where we are not the protagonists of a grand story, but a fleeting, fragile accident in an indifferent, or even antagonistic, expanse. Our science, for all its power, is a tiny candle flame held against an infinite, howling dark, illuminating just enough to see the outlines of the abyss. It is a humbling, frightening, and yet strangely beautiful realization. So we turn the question to you, standing here on this pale blue dot under that silent sky. Which of these ideas chilled you to your core? Was it the thought of a hidden executioner like Nemesis, the existential dread of the simulation glitch, or the profound loneliness of being the only real mind in a cosmic dream? Share your thoughts below, and let us know which theory you find most terrifying. If these journeys into the unknown captivate you, subscribe for more deep dives into the mysteries that lie just beyond the edge of our understanding. And tonight, when you look up at the stars, do so with that newfound awe, but perhaps with a whisper of trepidation too. For the universe is far stranger and far more wonderful than we ever dared.